Thunderbolts is the 36th MCU movie, and for the first time in a while, this film was pretty much praised by almost everybody, and was a massive surprise for me, as someone who wasn't all too impressed by the trailers and marketing of the film. But it turns out, I loved this film, and it was pretty much agreed by both critics and fans that this movie was definitely one of the best MCU projects in years. Because, with a few exceptions, Phase 4 and 5 were mainly mediocre, and the quality went downhill since Endgame. However, this film felt like a breath of fresh air for Marvel fans, and for the first time in a while, I actually want to see more of these characters, and I'm so glad that they'll be returning in Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, and that post-credit scene made me super excited for Fantastic Four. Oh sorry, I mean... because their ending tease at the end of Thunderbolts felt like an actual MCU post-credit scene again. Not some stupid glub shitto introduction for a character we have no idea when we're going to see again. Instead, it's teasing the next MCU movie that comes out in the next couple of months. But after that, the film still ended up bombing at the box office, which really surprised me as a longtime Marvel fan. I kind of thought the word of mouth would carry this movie into an area that would maybe make back its budget, or heck, maybe even profit a little. However, this was not the case, and the film bombed. Now, it wasn't some gigantic failure at the box office, like this year's Snow White movie, but still, for a franchise like this, where not even 10 years ago, almost every movie would crack the $1 billion mark, I mean, there's no way Captain Marvel would make $1 billion if it released today. But that was just the current state of Marvel, where their hype level was just that high. This movie had a $180 million budget, and only made back $382 million at the global box office. This movie made less than Eternals, Captain America Old New World, and Black Widow. Woof! And the real difference is, this movie is actually pretty good. However, it seems like Marvel is learning the right lessons from this movie, by letting their directors have more creative freedom and focusing more on quantity when it comes to their theatrical endeavors. Plus, they even attached the director of this film, Jake Schreier, to direct the MCU's X-Men movie. However, this is not what I wanted to discuss today. Instead, I wanted to go through why I think this movie bombed. After being cooped up in my science lab for the last couple of days, I have determined my top 3 reasons why I think this movie bombed. Please don't ask why 3, I don't have the time to discuss. So let's go through it, shall we? But before we get on to that, let's go to this video's sponsor. Nobody, because I only have 53 subscribers so far. It has come to my attention that only 0.1% of my viewers are actually subscribed. So if you end up enjoying this video, consider liking, and hell, even subscribing to the channel, and it won't even cost you a nickel. Anyways, back to our regular scheduled programming.
You must be strong, smart, quick, and true. Avengers assemble! Avengers! Ultron's cannon lights up. A is for action. Wonder Man's ready. Ant-Man's mini-jet is set for action. Ant-Man extends. Captain America's droid explodes.
Starting off with my first reason on why I believe this movie bombed at the box office is because of the tough competition it had in theaters. Even though it was released at the beginning of the summer blockbuster season, this movie still had to compete for audiences' overall taste at the movies. And even though it still made money, the film still had some tough competition, starting with Ryan Coogler's Sinners. While even though this movie was released a few weeks before Thunderbolts, it still was making a lot of bank at the box office. And that was reported that the film only had a 6% drop during its second weekend. The film's stronghold at the box office, coupled with positive reviews and audience enthusiasm, had made it an absolute phenomenon, and this movie's word of mouth was insane, because more and more people were going to go see this in theaters, and it fucking deserved it, because this movie rocked. And I'm sorry, if you don't like this movie, you're probably racist. Like, I don't know what to say. So it's definitely deserved. And it ended its run as the highest-grossing live-action original film at the domestic box office in the last 15 years. So when your dumb friend says nobody sees original films anymore, you can point to this. However, in Thunderbolt's case, this led to a slow and painful box office demise, because people were seeing this vampire movie with Michael B. Jordan playing Double, directed by a guy who used to make movies for the same studio, and probably will in the future. And this didn't help, but only 3 weeks later, we got the double whammy of the live-action Lilo and Stitch remake, and the final installment in the highly popular and successful Mission Impossible series, releasing on the same day. And somehow that Tom Cruise movie still ended up bombing at the box office, because the film had a $400 million budget And for a movie to bring back its budget, the film had to make 2.5 times its budget. So this movie had to make $1 billion just to break even. Anyways, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, Thunderbolts! Oops, sorry, wrong one. Thunderbolts! Jesus Christ, wrong again! Someone's getting fired. There we go, Thunderbolts! I think the biggest hurdle to cross for big summer blockbusters nowadays is just the amount of movies that come out every single month. And nowadays, in the year of our Lord, 2025, the audience doesn't go to every movie that comes out. The everyday Joe Schmo needs a good excuse for spending 20 plus bucks on snacks alone, and the big movies that succeed at the box office are typically event movies for the everyday public. A great example of this is Barbenheimer. Yeah, remember that? Studios are still trying to replicate that magic, even now. Anyways, Thunderbolts wasn't that big of an event movie in a lot of people's eyes. Now, this was a huge factor on the film's box office, and the fact that this wasn't a high priority for most people to see in theaters connects very nicely to my next point, aka the second reason why I believe this movie bombed, and this is because of audience Marvel fatigue. It is very apparent to the overall public and Marvel fans that the MCU went downhill after Endgame, and Phase 4 and 5 have been very overwhelming, but especially Phase 4. I mean, look at the amount of projects that released in the span of only 2 years alone, and a majority of these projects aren't very good, with a few standout projects few and far between. And even though Phase 5 was a vast improvement, it still had a lot of mediocre projects. But hey, this was still a huge significant improvement from Phase 4, and what I mean by that is that there are actually projects here that I want to rewatch. And with the positive buzz of Fantastic Four First Steps, I think Marvel is finally on the right track for a potential amazing future. However, we cannot overlook the dark past. I'm a strong believer in the fact that superhero fatigue is just a myth, and people are just tired of dog shit superhero movies. However, the term Marvel fatigue has been thrown out by a lot of huge cinephiles and casual movie audiences to represent just how much slop we've been getting from the MCU over the last couple of years, on sort of a quantity over quality control. It seems Marvel is finally learning from their mistakes and controlling the amount of projects they release each year. Granted, this year isn't really a great example, and it finally feels like Marvel is getting back into the swing of things. Even though Captain America Brave New World and Ironheart weren't very good, those projects were greenlit under old management, and this film was the first release of Marvel finally taking in the common criticism from Phases 4 and 5. And next year, the MCU is only releasing a total of 2 movies, a few animated shows, and 2 live-action shows, and a special that won't coincide with the main MCU storyline. But we can't just forget about the past entirely. A mindset a lot of people have gained since the release of Disney Plus is, what's the point of going to theaters if this is eventually going to be released on Disney Plus in a couple of months? And I think Disney is aware of this, too. I mean, why the hell do you release a Haunted Mansion reboot in the middle of July? So they can market the movie way more when it releases on Disney Plus, silly. And if that sounds too ridiculous for Disney to do, then you would be wrong, because that's what they did. However, I can totally see this movie becoming sort of a cult classic in a way when it hits Disney Plus, because I can see a lot more casual moviegoers checking this one out. Kinda like Marvel's equivalent to Scott Pilgrim in a way. Both movies are worked on by a beloved director whose fans don't always support their movies in theaters, starring a recognizable cast from the time or in the near future that got raving reviews when the film first came out, but still bombed at the box office, losing the studio millions. However, Scott Pilgrim found a second home on home media and streaming, where the film continued to be found by new fans over time, and I could totally see this happening for Thunderbolts for the better. And my main reason on why I believe this movie bombed at the box office is a little complicated at first, but I promise you, after a little bit of explaining, it will all make sense. And that is because this movie was too woke, because it stars women in a main role. I mean, as we all know, all bad Marvel movies star or feature women in any type of role. MCU, ha! More like MCU. Okay, put your pitchforks down. That was a joke. If you are someone who believes that, and continues to put your opinions down on other people's thoughts, then maybe you should get into a different hobby. Like, I don't know, Monopoly. I mean, you've got Mr. Monopoly. He doesn't have I'm pretty sure. Oh shit! The women infiltrated Monopoly! Repeat, the women have infiltrated Monopoly. This is not a drill. No, but seriously, the real reason why I believe this movie failed, that I haven't heard a lot of people mention, is a very big topic of consideration to talk about with the overall state of the MCU. and that is because of the reveal of the true title of the movie that was revealed onto social media sites so early on to the film's theatrical run. Okay, let me explain. So one of the main focal points of the marketing was what the asterisk next to the title meant, because this roster didn't really resemble any iteration of the team from the comics. Not the original Thunderbolts, who were first created back after the Onslaught event, after the Avengers and Fantastic Four disappeared, secretly being a team of supervillains the whole time. Or the Suicide Squad knockoff that the team is always compared to, consisting of mercenaries and street-level characters across the Marvel universe. Now, this was a huge topic of discussion among Marvel fans about what this meant, and there was all sorts of suggestions. I think the most common theory among fans was Dark Avengers, which kind of made sense. I mean, Marvel was so secretive about this that they shot a whole fake ending, revealing the title to be the new Thunderbolts, just to make sure the extras in that scene wouldn't go around and tell people, leading to heavy spoilers of the movie that hasn't even come out yet. However, that was not the case, and the secret title of the movie was The New Avengers, which felt like an out-of-left-field twist, but in a good way. Plus, the characters at the end really seemed to earn that title, and it set up a cool status quo for the future of the MCU, and made me even more excited to see these characters again in the next two Avengers movies. And Sentry played a huge role in that original New Avengers run of comics by Brian Michael Bendis, and that is my comic recommendation of the video. Now, you may be hearing this and go, "But Spider-Knight, you said the asterisk reveal was the reason why this movie failed, but you're mentioning it as a positive. What gives?" Well, I'll tell you what gives. After the film debuted, Marvel revealed this change on all social media platforms only after opening weekend, which honestly was such a stupid idea on a financial standpoint, because now everybody knows your twist, leading to less people interested in checking out the film. Even after all the positive word of mouth, people decided to just skip out on this one, citing, "Why should I go pay to see a movie for a twist that I already have been spoiled for me?" Starring a team of characters from across a bunch of projects that I haven't even seen, just to waste on one movie. And that's kind of a valid argument, to be honest with you. However, this is such a bummer because not every fan can see every movie opening weekend. I mean, hell, I couldn't even do that, and I had this spoiled for me after opening weekend. And this felt like a punch in the gut for a longtime fan of this franchise from Kevin Feige himself. Maybe they wanted this film to have a Sinners effect with the same kind of box office drop of 6 or 7%. And maybe they thought, oh yeah, more people will see this movie if the twist is spoiled for them to draw people's attentions in. But after seeing those box office returns, yeah, that didn't happen. Now you may be saying from your screens, "But Spider-Knight, if you don't want to be spoiled, then don't go on a site of the internet with heavy spoilers on it." Well, I would just laugh in your face, because not only was it on all of Marvel's social media sites, but also, it affected all of the movie theater websites too, when you go to buy tickets and they have the New Avengers smothered all over the poster. It also doesn't help that around the time for marketing, most movie theater chains had this Thunderbolts cardboard cereal box standee, which inevitably revealed New Avengers when the movie was released after that first weekend. I genuinely think the only way to avoid spoilers is to go to your local mom and pop theater, which won't have any standees or updated posters, and buy your tickets in person, and then you're golden. And that was another episode of Spider-Knight's Guide to Avoid Stupid Spoilers Online. The sad part is, I understand why Marvel did this, but they should have revealed it at the minimum like 3 weeks after the film came out. Then, after the movie had its time in theaters for a little while, maybe, possibly, the film would have had time to spread positive word of mouth to increase ticket sales, and then you reveal the title change 3 weeks later, and then it has a possible bump at the box office. But I don't know. I'm just a stupid teenager who's writing this script late at night, who's putting back his future as much as possible. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory!
Okay, who are you?
The milkman?
Do you have a sidekick?
No.
A nemesis?
A what?
A bad guy?
I'm a people person.
Have you been fighting crime long?
I don't fight crime.
What do you fight?
Weak bones. My never-ending...
I think that about wraps up my main points that I wanted to share with my Tik Tok Zoomer Brain iPad Kid audience. And if you're saying, well, that's a bit rude, well, I have the statistics to prove you wrong. Just kidding, I only kid. I love my audience, and I can't wait to see how this channel will improve in the next couple of years. It feels like a damn shame, because I genuinely love this movie, and it's one of the best MCU projects that doesn't involve a million cameos and callbacks, or James Gunn directing, in years. Definitely since Endgame. and a lot of passion was lost since the conclusion of the Infinity Saga, and it felt like a spark returned here. Plus, it was so nice to have Marvel focusing on a film with an emphasis on mental health and purpose, because I've struggled with both of these things in my life, and still do as a matter of fact, and what I want to do with my life, and honestly, I'm still trying to figure it out. But I just wanted to say, thank you, Marvel. I may shit on you for a variety of reasons, but it all comes from a place of love. Because I've been a fan of Marvel for as long as I can remember, and I want to see the MCU continue to succeed for years to come. And if this is an indicator of anything, then I think Marvel might be on track to make good, hell, maybe even great movies again. But who knows? Only time will tell. Anyways, that's too sappy of an ending for this video. What did you think of Thunderbolts? Who was your favorite character or aspect of the film? I would love to hear why. And since we didn't hit the last goal, Jesus, why the fuck did I set it so high? If this video gets 15 likes, I'll sneak into the Avengers Doomsday set. Anyways, be sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and I hope wherever and whenever you watch this video, I hope your day just gets a little bit better.